Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Turnbuckle Sessions. I am your host, Thomas Montalto. Thank you for joining me today. I am back, and before we get started, I'd just like to thank the great Boski for Chad Boski. Did I say it right? I don't know. Trying to do a pun on names there, and I messed it up. But anyway, thanks to Chad for filling in last week with an awesome episode. He knocked it out of the park going solo, and this week I'm gonna attempt to go solo too, as I'm gonna be talking WWE and what's going on with them over there, what's led to this, a whole bunch of things. But before we get started, let's talk a little bit about the Turnbuckle Tavern, man. Everything has been revamped. Our YouTube channel, our shows are revamped. The WWE recap shows are like combined into one recap show for the week now called Raw Down, Tuesday nights, 10 o'clock Eastern on YouTube. Thursday nights, we're going to have Fig Night, 8 o'clock Eastern. Wednesday nights, we're going to have the AEW wrap-up show, recapping the last week of AEW. We're gonna look at everything on all the shows, like wrapping up all things WWE on that show, all things AEW on that show, and of course, all things figures and collectibles on Thursday nights. And then don't forget, we have podcasts every single freaking day. How awesome is that? On Monday, you got the debate show. On Tuesday, you've got Hawk and Chad visiting the movies. On Wednesday, you've got this show, which you're listening to right now. So thank you for joining. Thursdays, you got the flagship show, the Turnbuckle Tavern with Chad and Sneed. And of course, you got Hawk calling in, just the best all around AEW Dynamite recap show you're going to find. And on Friday, you get visits to Tavern. And really quick, before we get started here, we have a monster contest going on now, and we're going to be dropping a video and a quick little podcast clip for you to get all the full details. But just follow us on Twitch, on Facebook, on YouTube. Subscribe everywhere you can. And if you send us a screen capture on social media, um, we're going to give you a entry into a monster contest. And every time we get to another level on YouTube between now and 1,000, you're going to be entered into a contest. You're going to be entered into every level. 600 followers, you're getting something. There's going to be a prize given away. 700, another one. 800, another one. 900, another one. We get to 1,000, it's going to be the monster of them all. So make sure you check that out. When we get to the 1,000 subscribers, one of the things included in this monster package is an autographed Becky Lynch Elite figure, the man, sign the man, from my personal collection. I'm giving it away to you. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Help us get to 50 on Twitch. If when we get to 50 on Twitch, we're giving something else away. It hasn't been decided yet, but we're going to decide soon. And when we do, and we drop that video, the promo about the contest, it's where you're going to get all the details, all the information, and we're working it out right now. Hopefully that drops by the end of the week. So now, let's be honest. I'm 46 years old. I've been a WWE lifelong fan for 40 plus years. I've been watching WWF, WWE as a diehard fan. I grew up with WWE. I lived and breathed WWE from the time I was 5 years old. As you've probably heard me say over and over again, I got the LJN figures, the original set, the day they were released. All right. I watched every WrestleMania since WrestleMania 1, not on videotape. Some might have been on closed circuit TV, the rest were on pay-per-view, and the closed circuit TV was only in the beginning. I think that was only the first two. Yeah, I did see two on closed circuit TV. A lot of you younger fans probably don't even know what closed circuit TV is, but that's a story for another day. We're not even going to get into that today. But I've never even wandered from WWE. During the Monday Night Wars, I was team WWF. I was all about that. Of course, I peeked at it, but I never watched it consistently. I just wasn't into WCW. I just was loyalist. I was a very die-hard fan. And I had been up until recently, and I still am. I still watch WWE every week. I still watch all the pay-per-views. I still watched Crown Jewel last week, despite saying I wasn't going to watch it. It's just old habits die hard, and I still love it. I still want it to be what it once was. We all do. WWE being good is good for wrestling because the biggest wrestling promotion. Okay, we're calling it the biggest wrestling promotion in the world. We know they're a wrestling promotion. Don't tell Vince because he won't agree. They don't do wrestling. So I don't know what that 5 hours of TV every week is, and then more hours on cable and streaming. So, but listen, I'm here to talk about today a lot of things that have been on my mind, a lot of things that have been bothering me with WWE. And I don't even know where to begin. But okay. So we've got AEW now, given WWE competition. And we're all looking to WWE to have to step up their game to make a better product to compete with AEW. Yes, I said WWE has to compete with AEW because AEW is putting out the better product. But here's my question. Let's look at this. Why do you need competition to put out your best product every week? Why would you not want to make a product you're proud of? This is the first problem. This is the first problem with WWE. They have a large audience, and obviously, if you watch on a consistent basis like I do, it seems as if creative. I'm not talking about the talent. I'm not talking about the talent. I'm talking about the one man, the man who comes in and rewrites shows hours or right up until showtime because he's not happy with them. Why would you not try and put out the best product every week, whether you have competition or not? If you put out a a good show every week, competition or not, it's only going to benefit you. You're going to have more viewers. You're going to have more people buying products. You're going to have more people subscribing to the network or Peacock to see your product. So the fact that they haven't been putting out their best product, it just blows my mind away. I mean, it was a few years ago now, probably 3 years ago, when Vince, Stephanie, Shane, and Triple H came out to the ring and admitted that their product was crap and said, "We're going to start listening to you." And since that happened in those last few years, they haven't listened to anyone. Their product is still crap. It's still not what it should be. And here's the evidence of that. You have guys, contracts expiring. You have Brian Danielson just walking away. Did I get Brian? Yeah, Brian Danielson. I always get confused between Daniel Bryan and Brian Danielson, and I want to call him Daniel Bryanson. Am I the only one who does that? Anyway, that's not the point of the show. Guys, put out a product you're proud of. I mean, at the end of Monday Night Raw every week, there's nobody in that company that can look back at the show they put out and say, "Damn, that was great, captivating television." No, it's not. I'm sorry. Raw's been crap for a very, very long time, and it hasn't gotten any better. And let's look at this week's edition of Monday Night Raw. We just had the draft, the roster shakeup because of the brand splits. What's the purpose of a draft and splitting up the rosters when you just moved the entire SmackDown women's division to Raw? So you're not even getting fresh matches. And to prove my point, on this past Monday's Raw, we got Liv Morgan versus Carmella again, which we've seen on SmackDown for over the past month. So you hope you're going to get fresh matches with the draft, and we got the same crap. Not only that, but next week on Raw, what are we getting? Bianca Belair versus Becky again. How do you send the whole friggin' women's division from one roster to the other, and you don't even get fresh matches because you sent everybody from one to the other? Like, is anybody thinking about what you're doing over there? Is there any thought put into anything that you do? There's no thought put into anything they're doing right now. I'm convinced they stopped caring about their product. The only thing they care about is the dollar. They've built a monster company. It's a worldwide company. Whether you know wrestling or not, everybody knows who the WWE is. Okay. So at this point, they're just going off of their name. Nick Khan is going out there and signing these billion-dollar deals because of the WWE name and what it was. It's not because of what it is. And I have to wonder at some point if these billion-dollar contracts are going to run out. because if you keep putting out this crap and the ratings keep dropping, and they are dropping, um, why are people going to continue to spend billions of dollars? Hey, rumor has it Fox is not happy with the product WWE's put out. And if I spent $1 billion to put their show on my channel and you're not putting out an amazing show every week, why would I be happy? Don't tell me Fox isn't seeing what AEW is doing every week. Okay? The show's better than WWE. The ratings are slowly growing consistently. They're staying consistent. Um, and Fox cannot be happy. And if you don't straighten your act out soon, is Fox going to renew that deal? I would think not. Why would they? Why would they? I wouldn't. Would you pay $1 billion for something you see very little effort going into, and for something you see their top performers leaving and not staying? Or what about the fact that they're releasing power star names, people who draw money? They released the biggest draw in the company when they released Bray Wyatt. Am I gonna pay another $1 billion when I see the company I'm paying $1 billion to let guys walk away because you want to save a few bucks? No, why am I gonna give you $1 billion? Why? You're not trying at all. I just don't understand what they're thinking. For the last 6 months, I guess since WrestleMania, we've seen WWE release wrestlers. We've seen them combine departments behind the scenes, week, after week. It's more releases, and you do wonder, like, this is the signs of what a sale usually is when a company is getting ready to sell. They're getting all their books in order. They're trying to, show the maximum profit they could show. And why would you want to do that unless you're looking to get money for your company? Is Vince's ego that big that he doesn't want his kids to take over because they might bring it to the next level, what it's been lacking for a long time? Does he just want to take the money and run? I don't know. Like, there used to be a part of me that used to cringe at the idea of Vince McMahon and the whole McMahon family not owning WWE. But at this point, listen, my loyalty is to WWE, and if the product can get better, let it go, Vince. Sell it. It's let's put it this way. I know many people say if they sell, it's going to become Disney on Ice, but man, it ain't going to get any better than it ain't going to get any worse than what it is now. It can't, because if you sit there and watch Raw, it's a terrible show. Man, it's a terrible show. Also, this past on Monday Night Raw, let's talk about the men's division for a second. You have a promo challenging, getting 4 guys to compete to challenge Big E for the WWE Championship. Who are your 4 guys? Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Rey Mysterio, and Seth Rollins. The 4 guys you just moved over from SmackDown. So right there again, there's nothing fresh in the main event on the first episode of Raw with the brand split. Nothing. Like, we talked about, we might get a month's worth of fresh matches with the draft. We didn't even get that. We saw a promo for Veer coming to Raw. Last I checked, he's been on Raw for the last few months, and nobody cared then, and nobody cares now. Veer is not exciting me. I just, when you love something as much as I do, it's just so frustrating to see it. So you got the 2 brands, you got a draft. Man, if you want to start improving this product, let's get rid of the brand split already. It's a joke. We all know there's no brand split. The titles in WWE are meaningless. There's way too many titles that when you watch a pay-per-view, you might get 1 or 2 matches that's actually not a title match. I don't want that to be every pay-per-view. I don't know. Some people say, "Oh, just split the pay-per-views again." No, let's take a page out of, like, let's not even say AEW. Let's not say that. Let's go back to old school WWE, WWF. It's not even WWE. When Hulk Hogan was your champion and he didn't appear every single week. As a matter of fact, he only appeared on specials and occasionally on Superstars, maybe in a Piper's Pit. Like he might show up in a jobber match and beat a jobber once or twice a year. And when he showed up, it was special because he wasn't on every single week. There's no reason why you can't have Raw and SmackDown with a combined roster and not have everybody on every episode. You can have Roman Reigns this Monday, and then you don't see Roman Reigns again until the following Friday. I mean, you could split it out to that both networks, get everybody. And the end. You keep things fresh. They don't know how to keep things fresh. Listen, they're still using the same formula that they were pushed into using back in the Attitude Era, and it's not the Attitude Era anymore. You've been using that same formula for 20 plus years, and times change, guys. You got to realize there's new ways to do things, and you're not doing anything new. It's not fresh. Your creative is dull because you give us rematch after rematch after rematch. I mean, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. We mentioned this on a debate show. I've mentioned this on other sessions. It's just so frustrating, but I'm putting it all together here. I'm putting it all together in one place. Um, And here's another thing, like Vince, we talk about Vince rewriting shows, okay? And coming up with the characters for his wrestlers. And he's got this hard on because he has to have the rights to the wrestler's name. And he's changing people's names and he's deciding what they're going to do. And wrestling is the best when you let the wrestlers have a say at who they are, when you let them organic developly. And when they do, did I say organic developly? When they develop organically, that's when they're at their best. Okay. And when you have a star that gets over on his own and you don't want him to get over because you don't want him to become bigger than a company, you're only punishing your own company because if you make another megastar, if you make another Rock or another John Cena, who people are going to tune in to see, that's only going to friggin' help your ratings, which is going to help you get higher ads, sell your ads for more money. It's going to help so many ways. You're going to get more viewers. You're going to get more people watching your streams. You're going to get more people subscribing if you actually build a legitimate star. Let's talk about Aleister Black and Ricochet. When they came up to the main roster, those two were on fire. And for no reason other than the fact that they don't know what they're doing, both of their pushes was stopped for a reason which I don't understand. Now, I'm not going to lie. Ricochet is great in the ring, but he leaves a lot to be desired for on the mic. But he still was over. The crowds were still into his matches. Aleister Black was red hot, and they couldn't figure out what the hell to do with him. They had him plan come back. He had wrote some awesome stuff. And if what he's doing in AEW has any similarities to what he did in WWE or shows you the creativity that the guy has, and they didn't know what to do with him because maybe they just didn't want to use his ideas, you got to sit down and you don't have 20 writers. Like let's cut budgets here. Cut all of your writers, maybe one or two. And let's sit down with each wrestler and say, okay, what do you want to do? Because when you have a wrestler who puts heart into what they believe they are, when it's like an actor who's a method actor. If you don't know what a method actor is, it's when you are in a movie or a TV show and your acting method is you become that character. You're not acting. For that hour, you're the character you're portraying. So if you let Aleister Black, Malachi Black, he believes he's Malachi Black. And look what it's doing for him in AEW. Roman Reigns, let's go Roman Reigns. Let's talk about WWE for a second. Roman Reigns, you could tell he's into this character because of how over it is and how good he's doing with it. If you're not into your character, you're not going to do what Roman Reigns is doing now. And you could tell the fans believe in it. Same thing with Becky Lynch back when she first did the heel turn. When shitty heel turn that we're seeing now. I'm talking about when she attacked Charlotte with the kendo stick to become heel, but the only thing it did was get her over, that they couldn't ignore it. And that's when she wound up getting punched in the face by Nia Jax. Um, man, let people develop on their own. Talk to them. You know, Becky Lynch came up with the man, calling herself the man. Nobody else did. She did that all on her own, and it was the most popular thing in WWE until she came back. I mean, she was gone for a year plus, and they was still fans were still chanting her name while she was gone during other segments of the show. That is after the pandemic, while they had fans. Um, I'm getting frustrated just talking about this because if we could see this, if I could see this, like I hope somebody shows this to Vince McMahon because I don't know what he sees, and I don't know why nobody else around him. I don't know. You know, Shane has just left the company again. Maybe he's just frustrated with what they're doing. Um, because when Shane books the Royal Rumbles, they're pretty damn good. It's like one of the best book things of the years. And now to think this coming Royal Rumble, he's not going to be there to book it. He's booked the last few. He booked the Brock one. So, um, I don't know. Like I said, you don't want to push guys who are getting over on their own. You don't want a guy to become bigger than a company. You don't want a guy to outsell people of the past. Why? You only make money when people sell merchandise. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. But yet you built John Cena up to this megastar that you'll keep milking him and bringing him back. I mean, honestly, the company has become too big. They don't care about us anymore, the fans. They don't care about the diehard fans. They don't care about the casual fans. It's the almighty dollar. It's what Nick Khan is I think convinced Vince McMahon that they have to do. Like, hey, let's go out and sign all these billion-dollar deals. Sooner or later, that well is going to dry up if this product keeps going to crap. I mean, but that's not hard. Like, listen, and then the other thing is, let's talk about this for a second. They do know how to put on a good show. Look at the first live SmackDown after the pandemic. They went out of their way to put on a good show. They came home to MSG for SmackDown, you know, the week of 9/11. They put on a good show. They went head to head with AEW a couple weeks ago on a Friday night. They added an extra half hour, and what did they do? They made the end of that show a much better show than what it's been. They know when they need to step up, they put on a good show. So why not do it every single week? Why not start planning stories? Why not sit down and actually think and plan it out in advance? Why come in and do rewrites and change like things the day of the show when you have a 75-year-old man dictating what he thinks everybody wants to see? That's not the way it works. WWE has been around forever, and no TV shows last as long as WWE does. And there's a reason for that. It's because creativity gets stale. It's because you could only do, you know, one writing team, one head of a show can only do so much for so long. And when you have the same guy who's been in charge since the early 80s and now he's close to his 80s, it's time for a change. Um, you've let all the great wrestling minds leave, all the great producers head over to AEW. So, you know, all your great legends of the past are heading over to AEW to work with the young wrestlers over there. Soon, what are you going to do when there's nobody to bring back? And really, the only person you can bring back right now is Goldberg. and nobody wants to see him. And I'm usually the first person to shit on Goldberg because I don't want to see him coming back. But at least the guy worked at Crown Jewel and tried to put on a match. Not his typical stuff, and kudos to him. But man, if you need to keep bringing Goldberg back to try and bring in ratings at this point, and there's nobody else because Mark Henry, who was a WWE loyalist, he left. He was loyal. He didn't want to leave. He came to Vince and said, Vince, I don't want to go. What can you do for me? And Vince gave him his blessing to go. Listen, Big Show was a WWE loyalist. Couldn't take it anymore. He left. Chris Jericho went on a record many, many times during his entire WWE run and said he would never work for another promotion in the United States again. He would only work for Vince McMahon. Before he signed with AEW, he called Vince McMahon and said, hey, I'm going to do this. Do you have anything for me before I'll do it? And Vince told him no. You see, sooner or later, you're running out of names. It's only a matter of time before Mick Foley shows up in AEW. I'm convinced. Don't tell me otherwise. I'll say within the next year, Mick Foley and WWE are going to part ways, and you're going to see Mick Foley back and go into AEW, which would be an amazing thing for AEW and an amazing thing for Mick Foley because they're going to give him a mic and they're going to let him work with someone. And Mick Foley, to this day, could still cut a promo like anybody out there and probably better than most still. Listen, you got Paul Heyman handcuffed in WWE. You took him off of Talking Smack, and that was one of the most entertaining things you had in all of WWE. And you took him off of it probably because you realized, we don't know the ratings of what's on the Peacock network, but I bet you those ratings were going up. I mean, he had chemistry with Kayla Braxton and whoever else he was hosting with. I don't get it. And he does a great job with what he does with Roman, but it's not the Heyman that cut promos for Brock Lesnar. Man, you want to know, like, I try to think, how do we fix WWE now? And if I was hired, and I joke all the time, Vince, call me up. I'm honestly, I'm not even joking. Vince, call me up. Hire me. I want to fix your company. And the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of that sorry ass brand split. And I'll sit down with Fox and I'll sit down with USA and I'll explain a plan. And my plan will be how to have all the wrestlers appear on both shows on a consistent basis. Maybe not every week, but a couple of times a month, you're going to get Roman Reigns on this show. A couple of times a month, you'll get him on that show. You're going to get Becky Lynch on every show. You're going to get Charlotte Flair on every show. I'm trying to think of top names who I think draw in WWE. And I think I just ran out at 3 because Daniel Bryan's no longer there. Bray Wyatt's no longer there. Malachi Black, Aleister Black is no longer there. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm having a pay-per-view. We're having a Clash of Champions. We're having a good old-fashioned Clash of Champions where depending on the time of the year, if it's close to Survivor Series, we'll do it at a Survivor Series. But we're combining the Universal and the WWE title. We're combining the Intercontinental title and the US title. We're combining tag team titles. We're combining women's titles. We're throwing a 24/7 title in the garbage. Listen, you want to hear something? We were watching SmackDown. Me and my wife. My wife watches wrestling every week with me. She's watched it before she met me. She continues to watch it with me. She's not on a level as a fan I am. She enjoys it every week. She loves it. But we're watching SmackDown last week, and she watches AEW with me, and she makes a comment about the coronation for Xavier, and she says to me, the reason AEW is so good is because they don't do corny shit like this. My wife sees it. General fans are seeing the difference. People who watch both. When she first started watching AEW, she was like, I don't know anybody. She watched every week with me, and here's what I noticed. When we would watch WWE, she would get up and she would do things around the house while the show was on. When AEW's on, she's sitting in front of the TV the whole time, and I never even pointed that out to her. So there's obviously something going on that if somebody who doesn't live and breathe it like me, who watches it every week and just enjoys it, sees this, man, you got issues. So let's combine all the titles. Let's combine the rosters, and we've got to bring we've got to stop with scripted promos. I don't care. I don't care if you know what? This is where you'll let those who can rise above the people rise, and those who will sink, let them sink. It's either sink or swim. If you can't cut promos, that's your problem. If you could cut promos, you're going to be the star of my company. All right. If you could get in that ring and wrestle and cut promos, you're going to be my mega star. I'm going to let, survival of the fittest, the guys who are there to make it. I mean, imagine if you had scripted promos back in the day of Austin and The Rock. We never would have seen Austin and The Rock. Vince McMahon's idea for Steve Austin was the ringmaster. Yeah, exactly. You remember the ringmaster? So we never would have seen the birth of Stone Cold in Austin 316. We never would have seen the People's Champion. If The Rock was handed scripts and wasn't allowed to be who he was, would he ever have become this huge Hollywood star? I don't know. I would think not, because I think it was his charisma that got him over. He was being him. He was being him. Listen, I would love to see Kevin Owens handed a mic without being told what to say. Just let him go. Because damn, I bet you he'd be cutting promos like Steve Austin, and I bet you he'd be one of the most, if not the most popular guy in that company. But what's Kevin Owens doing instead? He's counting the days because he's almost there. This isn't where he wants to be. But I'll tell you one thing I love about Kevin Owens. We all know he doesn't want to be in WWE anymore, but you wouldn't know it by watching him because that's not who he is. Every week, every time you see him, and the example was in the 4-way match, the ladder match on Raw this week, dude goes on and puts it all out there. You'd think he might be saving himself for AEW, but no, he's not that kind of guy. I don't even know if there's a chance that WWE can keep him when his contract's up if they did push him to the moon. And that's a risk they would have to take, knowing that if they put him over, he might still just walk away. So of course Vince isn't going to take that risk and try and build a star out of him. I want reality-based stories. I have no problem having a King of the Ring. I love the old school King of the Ring. We've got some awesome characters from King of the Ring. I love that Xavier Woods won King of the Ring, and I love that Zelina Vega won the Queen's Crown. I love it. Let the gimmicks work, but don't do it so cheesy. Let Xavier come out there and cut a promo. He's talked about it for so long, about how much it means to be King of the Ring. Let him come out there and cut that emotional ass promo. I've worked so hard to get here. And let him put his heart on his sleeve. Let us all see it. Don't do it corny. It doesn't deserve to be done corny. And here's the other thing. Vince, talk about Vince owning names. Xavier Woods' real name is Austin Creed. Like, are you ever going to come up with a better wrestler's name than Austin Creed? No. How do you change that guy's name? Austin Creed is a guy I want to be on top of my company. Just that name sounds like it can draw people. You got Austin. You think of Apollo Creed from Rocky. Steve Austin, so many things with that. Austin Creed, the guy's real name, and then you go and change it. What are you doing, Vince? Like, if you want your product to be better, I think Austin Creed was a much better name, but you come up with these gimmicky, trashy names. And another thing I'm doing, one of my first major stories when I'm in charge is I'm giving you some serious ass story, some reality based story, and maybe it's Becky Lynch and Charlotte after what happened last week. Maybe I'm going to let that carry over to TV since we all know what happened with that. Let's go back and think about what happened when Matt Hardy was released after Edge slept with Lita. How the fans got him back, and then they turned that into a storyline to Matt Hardy finally getting redemption. When you have reality-based stories, because we know that there's something to it, we know it's not just fiction. Guess what happens? You gain our interest. You definitely you get me invested. It's something I want to see more because I want to see how it's going to play out. Hey, let's go back to the Charlotte and Alexa Bliss promo. I guess maybe about a month ago, before Alexa disappeared for her surgery. They were dropping truth bombs on each other, real life truth bombs, and it made the promo better than anything we've seen from Alexa in a long, long time. And I love Alexa Bliss. And listen, she is one of the best on the mic in that company when she's allowed to be. She's improvised and she's damn good at it. And she did it with Charlotte, and Charlotte did it back with her, and you had me invested in that match. Um, how about this? Another thing I would do is I'd say, hey, guys, let's look for 3 of the guys we've released. Let's get Bray Wyatt. Let's sign him up. Let him come back. And maybe it's not even Bray Wyatt. You pick 3 of the people who've been released over 3 or 4 of the people over the last 2 years, and you have them sitting at ringside 1 week. Whoa, why are they sitting at ringside? And that's it. They're just sitting there. Maybe you don't even mention it on TV. Maybe you don't even show it on TV. Maybe you just let the word leak that they were in the crowd. Maybe you start with just one person 1 week and then let that leak. And then the next week, somebody else is in the crowd. You don't even do it all at once. And what the hell's going on here? And we're building the story of these disgruntled guys who were let go. And they're in the audience. And we see, like, it's going to build curiosity. I would be curious. Would you be curious? Like, oh, Buddy Murphy's back. Buddy Murphy was a hell of a wrestler. He put on awesome matches. His matches with Aleister Black, I could have watched them work every single week. And luckily in WWE, I did, because they had to keep putting him on week after week after week. So I'm going to do a reality-based story based on that. And see where that goes. And when you hear somebody was in an audience this week, and maybe for a couple of weeks you don't show anybody, and then like the 3rd week you just show them on TV for a few seconds, but you cut the camera really fast like it wasn't meant to be. Like you actually make it look like you're trying to hide that they're there. Kayfabe. You don't even let the person in the back. You let them come in with the fans. You don't give it away at all what you're doing. You don't tip your hand. You don't tip your hand at all. Maybe you have one of these guys, outside of the arena before a show, just signing autographs and talking to fans, and he's not saying why he's there. And fans are going up to him saying, "You coming back?" He's, "No, I'd never come back to this place." You let it simmer. You give it a nice, slow build until you're ready to pull the trigger. And at some point they're on the screen and they interrupt something. Maybe they interrupt a real garbage segment. And it's like, We should be glad we're gone. And as they start trying to grab the microphone, security comes out and they usher them the hell out of there before they could get, you make it look real. You make it look good, you know? Uh, just one of my ideas. It's just one of my ideas. And what about this? You combine the titles and you don't necessarily, I'm not saying you should have, win-loss records like AEW has. What about if you start having rankings for each title? Make the titles feel important because god damn it, when was the last time a title in the WWE felt important? I can't even tell you. All those titles have been crapped on so much. Man, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. I used to say, hey, if you want to enjoy WWE, just watch the pay-per-views. Even the pay-per-views haven't been good as of late. Like, I honestly, like, maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like since the pandemic ended, the pay-per-views have gotten worse. I mean, sure, Edge and Seth Rollins had a Hell in a Cell match. Maybe, probably in the top 3 Hell in a Cell matches of all time. They told a great, great story in there. Now, if you allow Edge to come in and you allow him to tell stories, why aren't you letting other people tell stories? Why don't you let other people do it? Supposedly a few months, I guess it was before SummerSlam when Roman and Cena did their promo. It wasn't scripted and Vince loved it, but he continues to script promos. I don't know what Vince is afraid of, who he's afraid of. I don't get it. I really, really don't get it. I don't understand why. Like, why don't you want the best for your company? Listen, you have billion-dollar contracts. The money that you saved by releasing Bray Wyatt was pennies. And fans were into him. And you gave him away. You gift wrapped Malachi Black and gave him to AEW to give them the biggest surprise we've seen in years. And I'm not saying, that it was bigger than Bryan Danielson or Adam Cole, but surprise-wise, yes, because not one of us had a clue he was going to show up there. And look what that did. Like, I can't even tell you how many times I went back and watched that. As wrestling fans, we live for moments. What moments is WWE even giving us anymore? Those big moments, those big returns, those big surprises. With all due respect to Carlito, this year's Royal Rumble, I mean, okay, we got Carlito, we got Christian. That was a pretty big one. What about the year Christian's having? We're not here to discuss this. He's headlined WWE pay-per-view with the Royal Rumble. He highlighted an Impact pay-per-view for the Impact Championship, and he's been the main event of an AEW pay-per-view in under a calendar year. You let Christian walk to AEW as well. Another guy who was just waiting for his phone to ring and to say, "Hey, we're ready to use you." But they don't know how to use people right. It's just so frustrating to me. It's just so frustrating. And even in, like, okay, we've seen good episodes. A while back, there was also a good episode of Raw. Everybody started tweeting about it. It was like, "Oh man, WWE is back." And I said right on the Raw recap show at that time, "Guys, don't get too excited. Let's watch next week. Let's wait and see because I have no confidence that they're gonna put on 2 good back-to-back shows." And I hate to say it, but I was right. I didn't want to be right. You could talk to the 2 Chads, and you could talk to Mike Belcaster. Man, I was always getting excited. Like, I always had hope. Always had glimmers of hope that WWE was gonna turn things around. I'm losing hope. There's no glimmer left. Listen, Tony Khan is pushing their buttons. He's trying to get them to up their game. I love what Tony Khan is doing. I'm not gonna go into full detail here, but Tony Khan, maybe more than anybody else, wants WWE to step up their game. Because if WWE gets popular, it's only going to bring in more people to AEW. It's only going to do it. So this little war, like we are at the beginning of a war. And again, I hate to say I'm kind of excited to see where it's going to go. I'm excited for AEW. I want to be excited for WWE. I do. I do. But when you give me things like Apollo Crews, all of a sudden he shows up one week with an accent. Now I have no problem doing a character like that if that's how they enter the company. But when you have a guy who's been there and all of a sudden next week he's coming out with an accent, what the hell is that? How do you expect me to get into that? Like, no, 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 I don't want to see that. Listen, I thought they had an awesome, like, okay, I can't believe I'm about to say this. I thought they had an awesome reality based opportunity with, God damn it, I always forget the name of that friggin' faction, that terrible, terrible faction. Um, I want to say Redemption. Oh, God. I'm sorry. I got to look it up now because now it's bothering me that I can't. WWE, Mace and T-Bar. What the hell were their names? Retribution. Retribution. When they got unmasked and they broke up, with Ali, you had an awesome opportunity for them to rip off those masks and Dominic Dijakovic say and Dio Madden say, what the hell was this horrible gimmick, Ali? You told us, we've built our name already. We don't need to be behind these stupid masks. You had an awesome reality-based story there to trash the characters that they were. And what do you do when you break them up? You keep it the same. And now you've broken up T-Bar and Mace. And now they're on each show separately until they just go away. And it's a shame because Dominic Dijakovic in NXT was damn good. Go watch some of his matches with Keith Lee. Talk about things you don't know what they were doing with Keith Lee. Look how popular and over he was when he first came up. And when he made his return, you could almost hear the crickets because they don't know what they're doing. Vince is Vinceicizing his wrestlers. He's taken away their edge. He's taken away what made them popular on the indies and what made people love them in NXT. Why? Why if it's not Karrion Kross? First of all, the guy hasn't even been on TV. I don't know what that means. But when you have something that works, why do you feel the need to reinvent the wheel? It works, Vince. It works. If something works, don't change it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And you know what you do? You're breaking things that aren't broken. You're breaking them. Karrion Kross has lost his edge. Guy's a joke. This guy wouldn't be a star anywhere. Not with this character. It's sickening. Let you sign guys off of the indies. Let them be what made them who they are. You wanted to change Adam Cole and make him a manager and change his name when he's worked his entire career and to make Adam Cole what Adam Cole is being in AEW. You've got to stop. Embrace it. Embrace it, man. It's only going to help your company and it's only going to make you more money. I don't know what else to say. It's sad. It's sad for lifelong WWE fans. It's sad when I see people like young Anthony, and I feel like we've kind of jaded him because he was loving WWE and talked about how good it was. And he was like, when we started the SmackDown recap show, oh, yeah, that was a 5-star show. And after I spoke to him for the recap show, he was like knocking it down to 3 stars because, and not at no fault of his own, he grew up in the crappy era the last 20 years, And sure, there were moments in the last 20 years, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, the Kofi Mania. There were some good moments, but nothing was sustainable. Even Roman Reigns, like, this is by far better than what we've seen in WWE, what he's done in the last year. and it makes it entertaining. And this is the best Roman Reigns we've seen. And obviously you could tell that. But is it better because there's such crap surrounding him? I mean, Roman is so good at what he's doing right now. The character is awesome. But if you're one of those people saying his in-ring work is amazing, man, he's not probably even in the top 5 of in-ring performers in WWE. A great in-ring worker elevates their opponent. And Roman Reigns always looks better when he's in there with a great opponent. You try and show me one match where he elevated somebody. And not to shit on what he's doing now. I'm not trying to do that. Because, it's the one awesome story WWE has now. And just like everybody else, well, we're all planning the story is going to end with The Rock. Because if it doesn't, what was the purpose? I mean, it's still entertaining, but you better come up with a different way to change it, to end it, and not even end it, but we need a climax somewhere. We need something. And if it's not The Rock, I don't know what it is. I think that they must have spoke to Dwayne already, my buddy Dwayne. Wow, I've been talking for 51 minutes already by myself. So, I mean, you've got my idea. I think I broke it down for you. I hope I made some sense. I just want WWE to be better. I gave you the layout of how I'd start changing it. Again, you have Roman Reigns, just for an example. Roman Reigns comes out on Monday Night Raw. This is combined roster, combined titles. There's only one WWE champion. Roman Reigns comes out on Monday night. It's coming off a pay-per-view, and he cuts a promo. Maybe it's like the pay-per-view, like the first Raw in January. And he's like, man, I've went through everybody here. There's nobody here. I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to go home because I'm just wasting my time here with all the garbage. Then on Friday night, you turn into SmackDown. And who shows up? The Rock shows up. Oh my God, The Rock shows up. And he's like, cousin, I heard you talking. And he replies to Roman, you're looking for somebody? You're calling yourself the head of my family? No. So then, what happens on Monday Night Raw? The Rock comes to confront Roman Reigns on Monday Night Raw, but guess what? Roman Reigns isn't there. But we find out on Monday Night Raw, on Friday, Roman Reigns is going to be on SmackDown. So The Rock promises, cousin, I'm coming to see you this Friday night on SmackDown. I've just booked 4 episodes. What do you think those ratings are going to do on that SmackDown with the build up to that? Maybe you even do it a little bit slower. Maybe you let Roman come out on that following SmackDown and Rock's not there. I don't know. Just so many different ways you could do it, but you don't have to have it happen fast. Let it play out. You don't need every single person at every show. I've made my points. Somebody send this to WWE, please. Can you? Would you? Tell them to call me because I'll go into creative. I'll turn that company around. I'll make them a wrestling company again. I know that's not what they want, but that's what we want. And if you think they were giving the fans what they want, listen, have your entertainment shit, do your movies, do your TV shows. But by God, give me pro wrestling. And thank God I have pro wrestling. I love wrestling again. And I want to love WWE again. And I just don't see it happening for a long time. I hope I'm wrong. You hope I'm wrong. We all hope I'm wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, I am the OG Fit Kid. Thank you for listening. If you stuck around this long, I do appreciate it. For all of our links, theturnbuckletavern.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Let me know if you agree with me. Leave a comment here. Reach out to me on social media. You know, that's it for me, guys. Until next week, I am the OG Fig Kid. Love, peace, and pro wrestling.